I'm going to go through the PowerPoint that covers narrowing your topic and writing your thesis statement. So to find this PowerPoint, if you want to go through it on your own, so go ahead and go over to Module 3 tab on the side and go to your Watch for Module 3 folder. We'll scroll down until you find the folder that contains all the PowerPoints. So we will start with this Essay 3, narrowing the topic and thesis statement. So I'm going to click on that, then I'm going to open it. All right, so if we go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and put it in slideshow from the beginning. Let's go ahead. Oops. Start. Very good. All right, so if we cover this, we're going to talk about narrowing the topic and writing the thesis statement. So slide 1 covers what's too broad for a topic. Get this out. So I've probably commented on all of your topics that you submitted by now, and I might have said your topic was too broad or that you needed to narrow it. I said that to most of you. So what does that mean? So if we go through some questions you can ask yourself, you could say, well, if you've summed up your topic in simply 1 or 2 words, such as education or school cheating, or in some cases I saw school bullying, or school uniforms, corporal punishment, that's way too broad. You need to find some very specific aspect of that topic that you want to write about. Another test for your topic, and so if you go to the library and you physically go and look at the books and you see a whole section, shelves and shelves of books on your topic, then it's too broad. You should only be able to find a couple of books. And when you get in terms of putting your keywords in your database, you should be able to narrow down to a small number of articles that address your topic. And if you can't come up with a thesis statement, if you can't be specific enough to say, well, this is what the issue I'm writing on, then chances are your topic is too broad. So what's so bad about not narrowing down your topic? Well, if you don't narrow down your topic, you are going to get overwhelmed in this paper. You aren't going to be able to handle doing this paper in the 3.5 or so weeks that we have left to do it in only 5 or 6 pages. So you're going to have too much information. That's not a good thing, to have too much information. Your information is going to be too general. You are going to again have too many unnecessary details, and the bottom line is you're going to get overwhelmed if you don't narrow down your topic. So before you begin, you want to ask yourself one key question. And I keep saying this to my in-class students, and I'm going to really kind of push this to everybody. You want to ask yourself, is my issue debatable? In other words, there must be more than one side to the issue. So your opponent needs to be able to argue the opposing side rationally. Even if you disagree with that side, there has to be another side. So for example, if you talk about, we'll use school bullying as a topic. No one says that school bullying is good. So you need to find what about school bullying is a debatable issue. What very specific aspect do you want to talk about that you could come up with, some sort of argument with your opponent, and your opponent would have some valid points to make and you would have valid points to make, and you sort of meet in the middle. So that, again, that is the key question you want to say. What would the other side say? How would you argue against your topic? So some tips for narrowing a research topic. So you look at one aspect of your research topic. In other words, select one lens and use it for viewing a research problem, or one angle. For example, instead of saying cancer, you say, well, how does smoking cause cancer? Or vaping is maybe the more current issue in terms of smoking type products. So the other aspect, another tip, is components. Figure out the initial unit or variable of analysis that can be partitioned into a smaller components. So for back to the tobacco, so we could talk about chewing tobacco, or again, vaping tobacco, or young males who of a specific age range and region who chew tobacco. So we're here in North Carolina, this is tobacco country. What aspect of North Carolina and tobacco and Onslow County, for example, could you look at? Methodology. So a method used to gather data can reduce the scope. For example, you want to you could look at all scientific studies that talk about linking chewing tobacco and mouth cancer, or you could look at all interviews of teen males who had said they had chewed tobacco and then later went on to have mouth cancer. So that could be one way of narrowing your research topic. And again, we talk about a geographical place. So you want to look at, again, try to get as local as possible. I think that makes for a more interesting topic if you talk about our state or our region, our county, or even our city, or even Coastal Carolina Community College. So finding out how two or more variables or perspectives relate to each other. So you could look at cause and effect of something on something else, or the group and the individual if you're talking about possibly school uniforms, for example, or dress codes. And you could talk about, again, what is good for the individual and what's good for the group. Problem and solution. Again, we are looking for a solution for this. So that certainly does apply to our topic. We could look at certain time periods. Again, I'm asking you to look at something current. So all of your newspaper articles, for example, need to be within the past 2 years. And I would say that you want to limit all of your other research articles to the past 5 or 10 years at the most. So I wouldn't be looking at anything older than 2010 when you're looking at your research. Again, studying your topic with regard to a particular class of people or place. Again, schools, you could talk about the college student or the high school student. You could talk about young people, children, or you could talk about old people and COVID. So narrowing down a research topic is vital. So in some, you can take the broad topic. In other words, in this case, your broad topic is you had to come up with a social issue, and that's hugely broad, and you want to narrow it down so specific that you are looking at a small group. Again, it could be high school students, it could be college students, it could be older people, and you want to make sure that it's within a certain region or part of the country, the certain socioeconomic group, something that makes you able to think about a very specific group of people and a very specific topic. So remember, you want to be able to write a good thesis statement from your topic so that your paper will fall from that. So what's the essence of a research paper thesis statement? So your thesis statement is where you put forward your argument in a concise, declarative way. Not a question, it's a declaration. It's typically 1 sentence long and comes at the end of your introduction paragraph, and that will be the case for this paper. A research paper thesis has 2 major functions. 1, it represents the topic that you intend to write about. You have to tell me what you're writing about. And 2, it needs to reflect where you stand. It should depict the side that you are on with respect to this social issue problem. Thesis statements should be specific. They should be contestable. In other words, I said this earlier, you should be able to say yes or no on it. It needs to be arguable. It needs to be narrow, and it needs to be provable. In other words, you have to be able to come up with research to back up what you're saying. So what should I put in the thesis statement? Your thesis statement should essentially give your reader a preview of what arguments you'll be presenting over the course of your paper. So you can use this formula. A should do B because of C. Or in other words, here's our sample. Our student government should endorse the Academic Bill of Rights because students should not be punished in their courses for their personal political views. So that's a very specific thesis statement talking about a very specific subject, whether or not our student government should endorse the Academic Bill of Rights, and it says what you believe on that particular topic. You'll need to go back and review this PowerPoint as many times as you find necessary. And again, you can find that PowerPoint. I'll show you again in PowerPoints for Module 3, narrowing the topic and the thesis statement.